Thank you guys very much. Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you, John, for the great introduction. I want to congratulate all the other winners tonight. It's an honor to be recognized with every single one of you. It's just been an incredible evening. So I'd like to begin by saying that I'm truly honored to be receiving the 2021 Tommy Lasorda Award. Thank you so much to the entire Italian American Baseball Federation, Joe, Carmine. You guys have been amazing, so thank you so much. So I learned that during this season that the award had been changed from Guest of Honor to the Tommy Lasorda Award. I know Tommy Lasorda was close with many of you in this room, and I'm extremely humbled to be the first to receive this award after the name change to honor him. I have always been a huge fan of Mr. Lasorda, and even though I never had the pleasure of meeting him, I've heard countless stories from a lot of my coaches and players that knew him. Beyond all the legendary stories and hilarious sound bites that he provided, every single person who told me about Mr. Lasorda described him as one of the most loyal individuals they have ever met. I find there to be no better quality in others than loyalty, so it's a true honor to be receiving this award. It makes it very special. And beyond our professions in baseball, we both obviously have an Italian-American heritage in common. And I just want to introduce my family really quickly. My parents, Tony and Beth. My older sister, Katie, and her husband, Giuseppe, and their sons, Domenico and Gianluca. We've gotten way more Italian since they entered our family. And my younger sister, Meredith, and my fiance, Sarah, were unable to attend, unfortunately. They had work obligations that they could not get out of, but they wanted me to express that they wish they were here and to thank all of you. So almost 6 years ago in the spring of 2016, I was a non-roster invite to Major League Camp and was yet to make my Major League debut. We had a road game one day in Dunedin, Florida to play the Blue Jays, and it was there that I met an employee of Team Italy who happened to work on the away clubhouse side for the Blue Jays. He knows my last name and he asked if I would be interested in representing Italy for the World Baseball Classic that year. And I was surprised to be asked this for a couple of reasons. The first was that I had no Major League experience. I had only played at AA at that point, and it meant a lot that they thought so highly of me to ask me to represent an entire country in the biggest international tournament in baseball. And the second reason I was surprised was that I considered myself a little bit watered down Italian-wise. I had the last name for the job, but I wasn't sure if I qualified. But and for somebody who loves history as much as I do, I didn't really know much about my family history at all. So I became curious about why my family emigrated to the United States, and what I found in the last 6 years has given me an immense sense of pride, and I'm really proud to call myself an Italian American. I began doing some research shortly after the meeting in the clubhouse, and I was introduced to many members of the Italian American Baseball Federation, foundations after that, sorry. And throughout the 2016 season, I did a lot of research, and I learned that my great-grandfather, Antonio Mancini, and his wife, Margherita Totire Mancini, met in their commune in Turi, Bari, Puglia, Italy. So in Italy, so back at that time, both of them were considered peasants. There was a lot of social classes that existed at the time, and their families had been there for hundreds of years. And my Uncle Ricky told me a story that Antonio grew up learning that the streets of America were paved with gold, and he always wanted to come here. And he wanted to reach for his dreams and provide for a better life for his family after generations and generations of not ideal living conditions, to be quite frank. So he picked up at age 20 in 1904 and emigrated here, and soon after Margarita followed, and they came to America for the same reason as so many others during their time, which was a chance for a better life in America. They married in New Britain, Connecticut in 1909 after they emigrated. Once they were married and settled, they started a small Italian grocery, which eventually developed into a chain of 3 stores. Their specialty was macaroni, and on every immigration I found from Antonio, he described himself as a macaroni manufacturer. Soon enough, however, there was endless competition around the macaroni business, and Antonio pivoted to the food that he loved as a child, which were peppers. As a child, Antonio loved roasting and eating sweet red bell peppers. Knowing that the fate of his business was up in the air, he began experimenting with the process to mass produce the peppers and sell them commercially. In 1922, macaroni fully gave way to peppers completely, and the Mancini Packing Company was established. While all of this was going on, between 1911 and 1925, they managed to have 6 children: Patrick, Daniel, Lillian, Joseph, Frank, and Anthony. In 1940, he sent one of his sons, my grandfather Joseph, to Florida in search of a new factory. The growing season for peppers was much longer in Florida, and Antonio desired for business operations to move south. Joseph settled on Zolfo Springs. I'm sure none of you have heard of it. It's probably the most boring town I've ever been to in my life. But it's a good spot for growing peppers and to have a factory. So he settled on establishing the factory there. But soon after that, America became involved in World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor, and Antonio had such a love for the country that he came to that he sent all 5 of his sons to serve in the war. So it must have not been easy, but during this time, he and his daughter Lillian went to Florida to run the factory. Margarita remained in Connecticut to manage the stores, and in 1945, the war had ended, and by the grace of God, all 5 sons returned from war. Sorry guys, I was a political science major in college, and I wrote like a full dissertation here, so bear with me. So my grandfather Joe and his brother Frank went down to Florida to manage the company after they got back from the war. And a couple of their brothers became doctors when they got back. My grandfather had 3 sons, my father Tony, my uncle Danny, and my uncle Ricky. Tony and Danny became doctors as well, and Ricky joined the family business. So in our family, there was seemingly just a choice between becoming a doctor and working for the pepper company, which is why I've been seen as a massive disappointment at times from my family. So my grandfather and Frank ran the company together for 50 years together until my grandfather's passing in 1995. Uncle Frank passed in 2015, and since then, my uncle Ricky has been the president and CEO of the Mancini Packing Company, which means that it is still family owned and operated and will be celebrating its 100th anniversary next year. So back to my research, given this full dissertation, I really, at the time, had just scratched the surface of my research, really. When I made my major league debut in September of 2016, I enjoyed some immediate success, and it was an amazing first few weeks in the majors, but that off-season, it became apparent that I needed to be at spring training entirely in 2017 if I wanted a chance to make the team, due to our stacked roster, and Buck Showalter was our manager, and he's a little old school of wanting a rookie to be there for all of camp to prove his worth and to make the team. So I decided that meant not representing Italy that year in the World Baseball Classic, and it was a tough decision, but I had to put that dream on hold for 4 more years, so my research hit a little bit of a snag at that point. So fast forward to the spring of 2020, the Classic was a year away from taking place, and I bought an account on Ancestry.com. I wanted to have as much information about my ancestors as I possibly could in order to gain dual citizenship between the United States and Italy. This would allow me to participate in the next year's tournament. It was around this time, however, that I noticed myself feeling a little more fatigued than usual. During our annual spring training physicals, a blood test indicated that I had extremely low iron levels, which explained why I was feeling this way. Our team medical staff was concerned to the point where they ordered a colonoscopy and endoscopy. They thought I had a stomach ulcer or celiac disease, but luckily they were really proactive and ordered those tests for me. I'm sure most of you know the rest of the story, but just in case any of you don't, I woke up to my then girlfriend, now fiance Sarah, sitting next to me, and the doctor came in to inform us that a cancerous tumor had been found in my colon during the procedure, and that I'd need emergency surgery within a few days. So 6 days later, I underwent successful surgery to remove the tumor. Seemingly in the middle of the surgery, the world had stopped. Spring training had been shut down due to a new coronavirus that would soon be known as COVID-19. Businesses, schools, sports, and the rest of our society shut down. So many events were canceled or postponed, including the 2021 World Baseball Classic. 6 days later, on my 28th birthday, I woke up to the news that 3 of my nearby lymph nodes tested positive for cancerous cells, and I needed to be treated with chemotherapy. At that point, I knew that there was going to be no 2020 season for me. And I quite frankly didn't know if anybody was going to play that year, but I knew that I was definitely out if there was going to be a season. Beyond that, I didn't really know if I was going to be able to play baseball again. I'm going to be honest though, I didn't really care too much at that moment. My biggest problems in life up to that point had to do with baseball slumps, and when you're staring death in the face, you really realize what you want out of life. And all I wanted in that moment was to be healthy and have a long, happy life with Sarah and our families. We took every day last year in stride. We appreciated the good days while resting on the bad days when I felt ill. We took it treatment by treatment, and although there were a few hiccups along the way, 12 cycles had passed. I finished chemotherapy on September 21st, 2020. Scans and blood tests showed no signs of cancer, and I was declared NED, which stands for no evidence of disease, which I still remain today. Soon enough after all of this, baseball did re-enter my mind, and I soon became determined to make a comeback. I didn't want to admit it at the time, but my body was feeling pretty weak at the end of chemotherapy, and how could it not be after being infused with poison for hours at a time, 12 different times. However, that was made much easier for me knowing that the stuff that was making me feel this way was quite possibly saving my life. Still, there was a lot of work to do, and I immediately went into go mode, where I stayed for 12 full months until the completion of the 2021 season. At the beginning of the season, it was announced that the World Baseball Classic would now take place in 2023. Our team, the rebuilding Orioles, was considered eliminated from playoff contention just after a first week of the season back in April by most people. So then I started to dream of what it would be like to win a championship one day, and I still very much hope that can happen in Baltimore. But my mind shifted to the possibility of winning it with Italy in the World Baseball Classic. So I went right back on Ancestry and did a little more research. I made it all the way back to Vito Onofrio Mancini, my 6th grade grandfather who was born in 1729. Then came his son Antonio, then another Vito, then another Antonio. Then he threw a curveball and named his son Pasquale, who I'm guessing had 2 brothers named Vito and Antonio. Pasquale then had a son named Antonio, my great-grandfather. So after seeing all this, I realized that until Antonio came to America, for as far back as I could go, the Mancinis never left Turry. They were considered peasants in the same village for hundreds and hundreds of years, until Antonio had a dream to come to America and provide for a better life for his family, and I couldn't be more proud to be his great-grandson. 2021 brought so many amazing memories. Stepping onto a baseball field once again, participating in the home run derby, and being back with my team. It also provided a lot of low moments, slumps, inconsistent performance, feeling like I had my prime stripped away from me after a career year in 2019, and too much media attention and cancer talk for one person to handle on a daily basis. And most of all, above all, the fear of the cancer returning. I finally have had a chance to catch my breath and gain some perspective on this past year's trials and tribulations. Life has been good, and I have so much to be thankful for. I'm marrying my dream girl next December. I once again get to play baseball for a living, and I'm part of an incredible family. A family that exists due to Antonio's leap of faith 117 years ago. I could not be more proud of my Italian heritage, and I look forward to competing in the World Baseball Classic in 2023 with Team Italy. I would also like to thank the Italian American Baseball Federation one more time for honoring me as the winner of the 2021 Tommy Lasorda Award. It's one of the great honors of my career, and I can't thank you all enough. Thank you.